Hi, Tina.
Hi.
Gosh, I'm just so moved by everything you just shared, and
Thank you.
lots of tears. My question for you, for me personally, I've been playing with the idea of anchoring in myself every day. What can I do every day for myself that I can anchor in me? Do you have any practice like that where you anchor in yourself to remind yourself of who you are and how you want to show up in the world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So how can you anchor yourself on a regular basis and remind yourself of who you are and how you want to show up in the world? So I truly believe that making small changes in our day-to-day has a huge impact, and part of that is creating rituals for ourselves to be able to check in with ourselves. When I was not investing in myself, I spent so many years not checking in. So I think finding a way to check in with yourself so you can begin or continue to have conversations, right? Who am I? How do I want to show up in the world? What do I value? And we all have those conversations with ourselves in a different way. For me, that looks like journaling. It looks like bouncing ideas off of friends. It looks like having time with no input where I can just be silent and still. I hope that helps. Any other questions? Yes, gentleman in the center.
Would you care to update Would you care to update us about your father and your brother?
Yes, okay, so father and brother, they're like bachelors living it up in Michigan. So my brother lives with my dad still. My dad is his legal guardian. One day, when my dad's no longer here, I will be my brother's legal guardian and care for him. It was really a struggle for me to move to New York because I felt like I needed to do that for myself, but also I felt extreme guilt the first year. I really struggled. Should I have left? They need me. How can I have my own life and still be, there for them? And what I realized is that my mom would want me to have my own life, and my dad wants me to have my own life. So they're in Michigan. I still go back and visit because it's a very quick flight from here to Detroit. I just saw them over the holidays. And yeah, they're doing well, although they're probably eating out too much. But what are you going to do? Ashley.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
Hi, I really like your talk, and also I wanted to ask you, how are you such a good communicator? Because I feel like I really understood everything you said, and even when someone asked you the question earlier, you were able to clearly articulate what you were thinking.
Thank you. I think it goes back to the question that this young woman asked, is that I spend a lot of time checking in with myself. So, a lot of journaling, a lot of writing and reflecting, and then also I've had opportunities to speak over the past few years, and speaking is a great way to organize your thoughts and reflect on what you've been learning. And so if you want to be a better communicator, speak some places. And you can start with easy things like, Q&As or panels. Any opportunity to present, it really helps you to have to clarify your thoughts.
That's okay. Thank you.
Hi. I had a question because one of the things that I really like that you talk about is sort of finding love again differently, but with someone where, it looks like it suits you. I wanted to ask you really if you could try to explain, I know this is a weird question, the difference between being in love when you've made yourself your first priority and being in love when you have not made yourself your first priority. Because I have found that those are two very different versions of love.
Thank you. That is such a good question. I have read so many books about this. And thought about this. I should give you guys a book list. No, so what it looked like for me before was codependency. And codependency isn't love. And what I'll say about this is that there were a lot of things. My marriage was a gift in many ways. But also, I was still healing myself, and I still am. It's an ongoing process. It's like onions, there's many layers. but I didn't know where I didn't know where the other person stopped and I began, if that makes sense, right? So my emotions were his emotions. I couldn't separate things and say, this is you, this is me. And it's very different when you're in a relationship with someone who, they're a whole person on their own. They don't need you to reassure them or tell them, they're confident. And they want to be with you, but they don't need to be with you. So it's like two independent, healthy people who choose to be in a relationship together versus creating a relationship that feels a little more codependent because you need that person. And also, you become a reflection of that person, right? So your behavior is all about them, and your emotions are all about them. And so yeah, I think it's having a clear separation, and knowing that that person is an individual and they get to make their own choices, and hopefully as a couple you'll make choices together. But yeah, I don't have a spiel for that. I hope that helps a little. Okay.
Hi, thank you so much for your talk. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about being in a work situation where the culture is really about them so much that even if you're there at 7:30 in the morning and they expect you to stay until 7 at night, and there is absolutely no room for you to be the priority. And then that starts to feel like guilt, and you're not doing your job even though you're working 100 and plus. So just, yeah, I wonder if you could just talk about how to manage that and if you had any suggestions around that.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's another topic here. You really have to figure out what is most important for you in regards to work. So what are your priorities and what are your values and what do you want to get out of work in this season of your life? Okay, so maybe you just want money, maybe you want to round out your portfolio. And then what you have to do once you make those decisions for yourself is to kind of overlay them as a filter onto your employer or your clients, right? Sometimes there are just toxic environments that we need to leave. And if you're unable to work in that environment and care for yourself, it might be time to ask, is this really the place for me? I know that might feel like it comes from a place of privilege, like we can't all do that because we have to pay bills, but there might be an opportunity elsewhere that aligns more with your values and how you want to care for yourself. Because if you're burned out, you can't do the work. And if you don't have time to care for yourself, you can't show up to the work as a whole person.
I was sort of looking for a way to manage it without leaving.
Well, we can talk after, but I mean, what I'm saying is sometimes there's not a way. Because there are things you can control about the situation and things you can't control. And if it's the things that you can't control about the situation that are causing inner turmoil and causing you to be unable to care for yourself, you'll never be able to control them, and you're just going to expend more energy trying to until you're completely burned out. So,
Thank you, Tina.